Evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So welcome to WY's 129th anniversary. Tonight, we're going to honor our past, the present, and the future of Women's Institute across Canada. And this evening is about connection, community, but most importantly, our voices. But before we begin, we have a few things we need for you to do. For number one, I need you to know that we are going to be recording this. So on your screens, you may have seen a box that say click OK. It would be helpful if you would say yes. So please check OK. The second thing is we need to put you on mute. So could you all find mute on find the microphone on your screen and put everybody on mute.
I can't see the mute button.
It should be down in on the left-hand corner on the computer, Judy. I'm not sure where it is. Depends on an iPad. Could be different places. So, and the reason we ask that is because if the telephone rings or the news comes up too high or something happens, then it distorts our speakers. So that's why we would ask you to put it on mute. So if you have a question.
What I want is so big.
How about I do it? I can put you on mute.
Can you put me on mute too, Lynn? I can't.
Okay, I will put you on mute. Just a second. Okay, cool. So we're all set on that department. We're pressed okay. We're recording. I certainly would like to acknowledge the presence this evening of some past FWIC presidents that I've seen. We've got Ruth Blankhorn here. We've got Linda Hoy, we've got Margaret Bile, and we have Marie Kenny, who's also our Canada area president. We have Ann Innes, who is the ACWW board member, and we have past Canada area president Elizabeth Rushton. So welcome to all of you ladies, and it's nice to have the past here with us tonight. So let us now begin. We're going to invite Marion Green to read the land acknowledgement. So Marion.
We would like to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. While we meet tonight on a virtual platform, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands and to give gratitude for the sharing of these lands, which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility to improve relationships between nations and to deepen our understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home.
Thank you, Marion.
You're welcome.
Now we're going to make sure this is recorded. Okay. Play O Canada.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We will now welcome Margie Taylor from Women's Institute of Nova Scotia to read the Mary Stuart Collect, please.
Keep us, O Lord, from pettiness. Let us be large in thought, in word, and deed. Let us be done with fault finding and leave off self seeking. May we put away all pretense and meet each other face to face without self pity and without prejudice. May we never be hasty in judgment and always generous. Teach us to take time for all things. Make us grow calm, serene, gentle. Teach us to put into action our better impulses, straightforward and unafraid. Grant that we may realize it is the little things in life that create differences, that in the big things of life we are one, and may we strive to touch and know the great human heart common to us all. And, O Lord, let us not forget to be kind.
Thank you, Margie. Now I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. So our program this evening, the Women's Institute, have always been more than meetings and programs. They are places where women learn, lead, support one another, and quietly and boldly shape their communities and the world. Every member has a voice and a story, a moment of courage, a friendship formed, a skill learned, a voice discovered. Tonight, we are honored to hear from WI members from across Canada who have generously agreed to share their WI experiences and or how WI has shaped their lives. Each speaker represents not just themselves, but the countless women whose lives have been touched by WI, past and present. As you listen, we invite you to reflect. What has WI given you? How has it helped you grow, connect, or speak up? What do you hope future generations of women will find here? So we have a number of speakers, and the first one is a story written by Lorraine Rutherford, and Angela is going to share this story.
Good evening, everybody. At 128 years, our Kimball Women's Institute, KWI, has the proud distinction of being the oldest continuing operating WI in the world. Kimball is a small rural community in Grey County, Ontario, about 3 hours north of Stony Creek, the mothership of the WI. In August 1897, Mrs. Clara Gardner, a farmer's wife in Kemble, was inspired by Adelaide Hoodless and Erland Lee. They had formed the first WI in Stony Creek a few months before. Clara hitched up her horse and buggy and traveled to rural women in Kemble and the area, and over a cup of tea, she invited women to meet at the library hall. Her theme was, "If you know a good thing, pass it on." In September 1897, the KWI was formed with 22 ladies present. In 2007, to commemorate our 110th anniversary, with the visionary assistance of Keith Davidson, a friend of KWI and recipient of the Erland Lee Award, we established the KWI Lookout and Cairn. This was to signify the table is set for tea, and as it means to honor Mrs. Gardner and the charter members. The lookout on the escarpment offers a panoramic view of the farmlands, and in the distance, the waters of Georgian Bay and the escarpment on the east shore. Designed by Marnie Shane, the cairn features a large rectangle piece of local marble fashioned into a table. Secured to the table are bronze pieces, a teapot, cream and sugar, cup and saucer, plate of cookies, and a book turned to the page of the Mary Stuart Collect. Beside the table is a bronze chair secured to a concrete base. On the side of the table is mounted a plaque with the founding member's name and a bas-relief depiction of Mrs. Gardner. Our branch currently has 22 members, including fourth and fifth generation members. We hope to continue honoring the ladies of the present and the past, as well as those who will take us into the future. And that was from Lorraine Rutherford.
And that's the oldest branch in the world, WI branch. So we thought that was the best place to start tonight. So anyway, next is Jennifer Budd. Got to find Jennifer again. There we are.
Good evening. All right. My name is Jennifer Budd. I'm speaking to you tonight from Paris, Ontario, and my piece is called Finding My Feet and Belonging. In 1984, I found myself in a large red brick farmhouse on a gravel road in rural Norfolk County in Ontario. I was newly married to a Canadian farmer who'd swept me off my feet during a 3-month trip to Ontario, representing Scotland on a junior farmer exchange. I stayed on 7 dairy farms in the province. He followed me home to Scotland and proposed. We were married in Scotland 6 months later. When we got back to Norfolk County, I felt a bit lost, homesick, and overwhelmed. Everything was so new. A kind soul invited me along to a Norfolk Junior Women's Institute meeting. Instantly, I had new friends and a place to belong. The group was instrumental in me finding my feet during those early years of married life. We were all of a similar age and stage. We laughed, we cried, we held each other's babies and enjoyed the sisterhood of the organization. 3 years later, we left the farm and bought a house in town. There was no WI for me to join, and I was sad. In 2015, I learned there was a small group of women trying to establish a WI branch in my town. I couldn't believe my ears. Eagerly, I attended the first meeting where the Women Inspiring WI was started. For me, the past 11 years have been and continue to be a welcome return to that sense of belonging and sisterhood. The difference being that this group is intergenerational. We have young mums, retirees like myself, and women who are our elders. It's a wonderful, vibrant group. I love the energy and the wisdom in the room. My husband of 42 years is grateful too for the support and care I received from WI friends in those early days. He now enjoys the laughter and the fun he hears when I host WI meetings here in our home, in this room. My association with WI has helped me in many ways, but I'll never forget those early days on the farm, feeling isolated and finding other women to befriend. It was a lifesaver.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jennifer.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you for the invitation, and I look forward to the recording.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. So now we're going to head to Newfoundland, and we're going to have Agnes Richard, a longtime member of the Newfoundland WI, and she has a story to share with us. Agnes.
Well, greetings from snowy Newfoundland. We have lots of it down here, and if you want some, just send your request and we'll have it on our way. Anyway, my story this afternoon involves one of our past presidents, Kathy Sheldon, Polish women, and ACWW. Now, in our adventure in this organization of women's institutes, Kathy has been our friend, our mentor, our organizer, our leader. But overall, we have known her for her kindness, her compassion, and especially her joie de vivre. Now, Kathy Sheldon was always a force to be dealt with. And when undertaking a task or a committee, we could count on her to be persistent and always steadfast. And one instance of her depth of understanding and her clarity of vision is indelibly implanted in my memory. and it also demonstrates her wide scope of influence. It's 1980. We are attending the worldwide convention of Associated Countrywomen of the World in Hamburg, Germany, with a registration of about 2,500 voting delegates, many observers, and a press delegation. Quite a crowd. The board meeting prior to the convention, and consisting of the president of the member societies, about several hundred participants from every corner of the world, was set to begin the first thing in the morning before the full convention. One complication for us was that we realized that Kathy, our president's flight, was not due until later that morning. So the solution we came up with was for me to sit in for Kathy, take notes until she arrived. Meanwhile, Ron, my husband, we had him stationed at the bus station to take charge of Kathy's luggage and rush her to the board meeting venue. And as the meeting proceeded, we became very aware that there was a contentious issue to be dealt with. And that emerged as the application from the Polish women for admission into ACWW. You know, in 1980, Poland was still a communist country and behind the Iron Curtain. So the debate, when we reached that item agenda, the debate was heated and spirited. The Americans and the Australians argued that this was the thin edge of the wedge of communist infiltration into our group and was not to be allowed. The question was finally put to the floor, and the result was a count of 255 to admit, 240 to reject, but with 20 abstentions. Now, Dame Ray Rowe from Australia was president of ACW and chairperson of the meeting. Dame Ray was always in charge of just about everything. And her ruling was that abstentions meant that the status quo would prevail and that no addition to our membership would be made at this point. So the Polish women were out. They would remain outside of ACWW. Disappointment in some corners of the room, jubilation in other corners. But from the back of the room came a familiar voice. Kathy had arrived, and she was challenging this interpretation of the chair. And that the fact that the abstentions from voting was not clearly explained before the vote was taken. And she also questioned about how abstentions were treated in the rules of order of the ACWW. A quick review of the rules of order and the Constitution did not define how abstentions should be counted. Now, at this late stage in the proceedings, there was no other recourse but to leave the problem there and to take it to the floor of the full convention. And as the convention proceeded, so did an active lobbying effort continue on different fronts and in different groups. And Kathy was sometimes corralled to explain her stance and her interpretation. Rumors of serious threats, tensions building all around. Finally, the question of how the Polish women should be dealt with was finally moved for discussion on the floor of convention. Very impassioned speeches on both sides of the issue, but very moving appeals from the German delegation, who related how enriching and empowering it was for them to be the first German organization to be admitted into a worldwide organization like ACWW after the World War II. And it also helped them in their rebuilding efforts. Other pleas from different areas, especially from the Norwegian women. The vote was taken and resulted in an overwhelming support for the Polish women's admission into the ACWW. Now, if you look at Google, recorded there, recording this event, you can read, through procedural maneuvering of individuals like Kathy Sheldon, the vote was eventually taken and the Polish women were admitted as members of the ACWW. There we have it, Kathy Sheldon's name enshrined for all posterity. Check it out with Mr. Gould sometime. And all this happened because one person, one member from a small community in Somerford, New World Island, Newfoundland and Labrador, who had the courage and the insight to stand, challenge, and question a puzzling ruling on an issue. Now, all this played out long before Lech Walesa came on the scene, who later in the 80s led a successful pro-democracy effort, which in 1989, 9 years after the Kathy episode, ended communist rule in Poland and ushered in the end of the Cold War. And we feel assured that as Lech Walesa began his march for democracy, our Polish sisters marched right along with him. This was our Kathy, setting into motion a movement which had consequences worldwide. We still have a flush of pride about her accomplishments. This is only one. There are many others. Yes, Kathy Sheldon was a force to be reckoned with, and we loved her for it. And so did the Polish women. Thank you for listening to my story.
Thank you so much, Agnes, for sharing stories about Kathy. It was much appreciated. So, and a very important piece of history for us to understand. Thank you. All right, we're going to now move on to Prince Edward Island, and I need to find Louise. There we go, Louise.
Okay.
Yep, we see you now.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to meet with all these other ladies. And I live in a rural area in eastern Prince Edward Island. At a very young age, I was aware of the Women's Institute, as my mother and mother-in-law were both life members of the local branch. Also, many of my friends' mothers were members as well. After I was married in 1956, I lived in the community where I was born. At that time, young brides were invited and encouraged to join the WI. So I joined and have been a member ever since. It is funny, I remember when I thought that I was too young to be a WI member. Our group was always engaged in provincial projects as well as being very active in the community. Through the years, our branch had encountered many challenges, such as buying a former schoolhouse and upgrading it so that now it is a certified warming center. Another worthy project which our branch did was to establish an honor hall wall in our center in memory of the soldiers of the area who served in the various wars and conflicts. We had many projects, such as hosting a yearly dinner for senior citizens of the community, sending Valentine's boxes to shut-ins of the area, visiting community members who are sick, and we also donate to many nonprofit organizations as well as the local school breakfast program and the community pantry. We also take part in provincial projects such as the yearly roadside cleanup and the Women's Day project. I have had all executive positions through the years. I'm very proud to be a life member of this worldwide organization of women. Hopefully, we all continue working for home and country as we attempt to follow the advice which is indicated in the Mary Story Collect, which we repeat month after month and year after year.
Thank you, Louise, for writing up your story. It was my
Thank
pleasure
you.
was my pleasure to be there to help you get your award last summer, so on the island. So it was a lovely, lovely day to a very deserving lady. So thank you. So
Thank you very much.
okay, we're now going to move a little further west to Manitoba, to Liz. And Liz, I'm going to spotlight you so we can see you, dear. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I've got to say that Manitoba WI is starting their 116th year as a WI organization. And also, while I'm on it, we had our Minister of Agriculture proclaim WI Day today. So if anybody goes on the Manitoba Women's Institute Facebook page, you can hear his video presentation. All right, I'm going to start with mine, and I was kind of a latecomer into the race, I guess you want to say it. And I'm talking about WI memories and experiences. I'm beginning the 25th year as a WI member and would like to share some memories and experiences throughout the years. Within 4 months of joining WI, became a regional rep, and in Manitoba we have regions, became a provincial board member for a 2-year term, which extended to 5 years. I learned about WI in a hurry. A co-chair for the 2005 AGM and convention, which was 2.5 days. One of the speakers was a young 8-year-old girl who started a Ladybug Foundation about the awareness of homeliness. In 2008, ACWW World President Ursula Goh attended the Canada area held in Winnipeg. She had been visiting the international site that was in the US at that time, so she came over. I had the privilege of touring her and a Newfoundland WI in and around Winnipeg. As sometimes happens, detours are made to get somewhere. In her greetings, Ursula thanked Manitoba WI for hosting the ACWW Canada Area Conference, and she included me for showing her around. Her comment, "The more Liz got lost, the more I saw." And for those that know the late Connie Murray, every time we talked about Ursula, we always had to laugh about that because Connie was there. I had the privilege of touring her. Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong paragraph. My WI Springfield, which had 12 members in 2007, had a train monument erected to commemorate the 60th anniversary of a train disaster that happened in Dougal, Manitoba, which is the town that I live in. The groups raised funds, held a ceremony with an unveiling. Some of the experiences learned from WI opening ceremonies were applied to this event. A photo of the event of one of the committee members and myself appeared on the front cover of the Countrywoman, which at that time. I was the local WI president and emceed the ceremony. There were close to 500 people in attendance. 2 TV stations attended. The event made the evening national news. There was a lot of support from the communities in and around the Dougal area. It was very overwhelming. ACWW World President Ruth Shanks and her husband attended the 28th FWIC conference in Winnipeg, and I had met Ruth several times before this. I had the privilege of hosting Ruth and her husband prior to and after the conference. Met a lot of WI members from across the country while attending the FWIC and ACWW Canada area conferences since 2003. And then attending the conferences over the years, meeting the WI members. It is like greeting family. I was the Manitoba representative to the FWIC board for 4 years, have been and still on the provincial board. During that time, while I was on these boards, I also had the position of regional board president and local WI president. I also didn't put it in, but I mentioned that Manitoba had their 100th anniversary in 2010, and it was held in the town in Morris, Manitoba, where the first WI organization started. And at that time, we had the late Flora MacDonald, MP, attend, and she spoke to us about her experiences in Afghanistan at that time. I learned about advocacy, writing resolutions, and other items pertaining to the administration of the WI organization. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Liz. It's good to hear about your work in Manitoba. Thank you for sharing. All right. Another story that was submitted was by Mary Hardy.
Born in the 1940s in an industrial city in the Midlands of England. Money was scarce, and my mother spent most of her days cleaning, cooking, and shopping on a limited budget. Needless to say, growing up in these surroundings, I heard very little about the Women's Institute. My impression, gleaned later, was that it involved country folk, and the ladies wore flowered dresses and hats and high-heeled shoes to their meetings. We've all seen Calendar Girls, right? Fast forwarding many years, having married an engineering geologist, raised 3 sons, and emigrated to Canada, from where we traveled all over the world to far-flung places in his job, we ended up in a small rural community in Ontario for our retirement, in an old farmhouse with 57 acres. The time had come for us to live the idyllic rural existence we had always dreamed of. I joined everything I could to make friends and be part of the community. I still remember my first WI meeting. I was determined to wear a dress. Although not a hat or high heels person, I may even have worn lipstick. I thought I would blend in pretty well. I soon learned that rural women in Canada, especially farmers' wives, were not interested in my fashion statement, but welcomed me warmly, and many of them have become good friends over the almost 30 years that I have been a member. As I was introduced to them all, I noticed that many of them were related through several generations. It was a true community of friends, neighbors, and family, and I am honored to have been accepted as one of them. It is indeed a goodly thing to meet in friendship's circle bright, and the good of all mankind seems to be a way of life in the WI family.
Thank you very much, Mary. Ruth Blankhorn, there we be. You're up. I'm going to put you on spotlight. I'll get you to unmute yourself.
I lost my power and I had to get Wayne to
But you're back.
Yeah, get it back.
Good stuff. The floor is yours, Ruth.
Okay. All right. Well, my name is Ruth Blankhorn, and I'm a member of the Fort Williams Women's Institute. Fort Williams Women's Institute is the oldest WI in Nova Scotia. It was one of the first formed when WI first came to Nova Scotia, and we were formed in 1913. So it's been running a long, long time. So we're really proud of that. When I was asked what brought me into Women's Institute and what kept me there, I thought, that's easy. 2 things. First, an invitation to go, and second is the friendships I've made. I grew up in Fort Williams, and when I married a military man, we moved several times, living mostly in cities like Montreal, Ottawa, Halifax, and so on. There were no WIs there at that time. And so I kept busy with church, being a brownie leader and a guide leader, taking my daughter to swimming lessons, and actually taking swimming lessons myself. And I even joined a rifle club. So it was just invitation. When we retired and moved back to the village where we grew up, my sister, Deb, who was a longtime WI member, invited me to go to a fall rally. I really enjoyed the rally, and so we had a good time, and I reconnected with a lot of people from my childhood, including my elementary school teacher, Elizabeth Rand. She was a past WINS president, past FWIC president, and an ACWW Canada area president, or whatever they're called now. Anyway, so I joined the WI the very next meeting, and I'm still here. Why do I stay? Mainly because of the friends I have made over the years, and I believe strongly in the WI model for home and country. WI works for women and communities at home and around the world. I especially like the monument that was erected by the Port Williams Women's Institute celebrating our 100th anniversary. And we have a lovely war memorial here, and to one side there is another memorial, and we had a plaque put on it, and it states, "For all women who kept home and country thriving in times of war." That is true even today. The work being done by women in WI, FWIC, and ACWW is as important today as it was when WI first began. It started with one woman taking care of her family, and it grew from there. Home always comes first. If we can't take care of ourselves and our loved ones, how can we take care of others? So continue the good work that's being done. And I'm very proud to be a WI member. And since I first joined over 30 years ago, there's only 2 years that I haven't been in a position somewhere, in the branch, in the region, provincially, or nationally. So I've been a long time member, and yes, I'm proud of it. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Ruth, and thank you for sharing your experiences. So we're certainly appreciative of all that you've done. So we're going to leave Nova Scotia, and now we're going to hop back over to the island. And this time we're going to talk to hear, we hope, from Rita McDonald. So Rita?
Yes.
You're up.
Well, greetings from Ebenezer, Prince Edward Island. I first experienced Women's Institute as a little girl growing up on a farm in rural Prince Edward Island. My mother was a WI member then, and it was an exciting day when she was getting ready to host the ladies of the community for their monthly meeting. Everything had to be spick and span. Her fancy cups and saucers came out, and her fancy plates for the sandwiches and sweets. And in those days, the men usually brought the ladies, so they could play cards and settle world events in the kitchen while the WI members were having their meeting in the living room. It seemed to me that almost all the ladies of the district belonged to the Women's Institute. It seemed to be their major outing for the month, except for church on Sunday. I can remember the WI ladies gathering in the one-room schools to wash the walls, clean the windows, scrub desks and the floors. When I grew up and began to teach school, the teacher was expected to join the local WI. And so I did. I was only 18 years old. It was a way to meet the moms of the children I taught, and they could report to the meetings about what things were needed for the school. They supplied such essentials as blackboard erasers, toilet tissue, and chalk. After I married a farmer, my mother-in-law took me to the WI meeting the very next month. It was a great way to meet most of the ladies of my new community. I have been a member of the WI ever since, and that's over 75 years. After my husband passed away and I retired from teaching, I joined the provincial WI board. During my time there, I made many new friends. I enjoyed working with them, helping with programs, and learning a lot while I was doing it. Shortly thereafter, I started going to the national conventions, widening my horizons and making more new friends. It has been a wonderful experience because I have attended national conventions from nearly every province in Canada. I had the honor of being our provincial president. During my 2-year term, I made a point of attending each district convention on the island. It was a very enjoyable experience, meeting WI members from one end of the province to the other. Several years ago, under the capable leadership of our own Marie Kenny, 2 bike tours, which attracted bikers from several provinces and some from the eastern United States, were held to raise funds for 2 of our hospitals. This really brought the WIs together. WI members along the route provided bed and breakfast to the bikers, as well as dinner in the evening at a central location. A snack truck met the bikers along the route, and I was the lucky one to drive that truck. Women's Institute has meant a lot to me over the years, and I still look forward to our regular meetings. The organization has enhanced my life ever since I became a member, and I'm proud to belong to our great Women's Institute organization.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Rita, for sharing your story and some of the things that you've learned and experienced over your time with the organization. So there's lots to learn here. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Elizabeth Rushton, going all the way out to Alberta.
Thank you, Lynn.
There she be. There you go, Elizabeth.
Yep.
Welcome.
Thank you. What a WI meant to me, as somebody else said, always seemed such an easy question to answer. But as I thought more and more about it, I realized it wasn't easy at all. WI has been part of my life for over 50 years. And like Ruth, my branch, Stony Plain Women's Institute, just west of Edmonton, was formed in 1913. And no, I was not a charter member. And as I look back over those years, I give thanks for all the friendships, support, opportunities, learning, self-confidence, and memories they have brought. It is rather self-evident to talk about all the positive and lasting values learned through a membership in WI, along with a deep appreciation for what the organization has done for so many women for over 100 years. But it is some of my own memories I decided to share with you, starting way back with the ACWW conference in Vancouver in 1983. I was in an elevator with a friend when a lady I did not know got in, and my friend congratulated her. Who was she? And congratulations for what? Well, it was our very own Dr. Ellen McLean, who had just been elected world president. Little did I know that many years later, when I was attending an area conference in Prince Edward Island, that I would be sharing, get this, the honeymoon suite with that same lady. We've laughed about that many times over the years. On the day tour during that same conference in Vancouver, 2 or 3 busloads of delegates were having a meal in a hall somewhere where we were asked about our country or where we were born. After I said I was born and brought up in Southern Ireland, a lady came up to me, asked me my maiden name, and when I told her, she said she had known my father when he was directing a group of choirs from various churches for an upcoming special service. What an experience so far from my childhood home. Fast forward to the ACWW conference in Tasmania, where I was invited one evening to join the Northern Ireland ladies for dinner. Knowing I was originally from Southern Ireland, one of them asked me if I knew a Brendan Athy, which was my maiden name. I admitted he was my brother, and it turned out he had been their agricultural advisor on their farm back in Northern Ireland. Small world, definitely. During a short conversation with the current world president in Langley, BC last year, I mentioned that I had been at the World Conference in South Africa many years ago, and she said she had also been there. And I told her about the table next to me at the banquet. Apparently, different branches had decorated the tables, where each guest received an ostrich egg. They are large, not the sort of thing one tucks into a corner of their suitcase at the last minute. She said that was not done by her branch. One year when I was visiting a friend in England, I accompanied her to her WI meeting, and yes, they did start by singing Jerusalem, but the program was a display by a lady whose business was renting out fancy hats for weddings, garden parties, and anywhere else a hat was necessary. And then we got a chance to try on all these hats. You can imagine the fun we had. And just one more. My husband and I took some cruises on an English-based cruise line, and on sea days they encouraged various organizations to meet together if they wished. I joined a small WI group of ladies. After the first year, we did a second cruise on that line. I brought some of the Mary Stuart collect cards to give to the other WI ladies. I well remember one of them looking it over and saying that was something that was really needed in her branch. I don't know if she took it home again. Above all, I treasured the friendships and support of my branch my branch members, the memories we share, and the fun we have together. And I hate to end, Lynn, on a sad note, but I just found out today that our provincial president, Linda Taves, whose daughter in her 20s has been battling illnesses for over a year, died on Tuesday.
Oh, no.
Yes. Her name is Alex, and I ask you all to remember Linda and her family.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Elizabeth. That's terrible. Our thoughts certainly will be with Linda. I know she's been sick for quite some time, so
Yes.
yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for sharing some of your experiences. And we always enjoy all your articles that you have in the WI Connections and the history that you're providing for us. So thank you for continuing to do that. So it's much appreciated. All right, so let's move along, and we're skipping back across the country to Margaret McElroy. And Margaret, going to spotlight you, dear.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you for letting me share my story. I joined the Walton WI branch, Huron East District, Guelph area, FWIO, in 1981 as a way to serve my community. But as so often happens, it was WI that has blessed me. I have held leadership roles at a number of levels within WI, which has allowed me to grow personally. But what I thank the WI most for is being a place where I can share my musical talent. Many WI members will remember Peggy Knapp, a dedicated member of the WI for many decades, holding positions as FWIO president and Canada area president of the Associated Countrywomen of the World. At the first Guelph area convention that I attended, Peggy was the Guelph area president. Instead of taking the floral bouquet presented to her home, she asked for the youngest member present to come forward and receive it. That was me, and from that day forward, Peggy and I were WI friends. She had heard me sing at Guelph area conventions, and I was blessed to sing at a number of things that she was involved in. I sang at the opening of the FWIO office when it was moved to Marden Road, Guelph Township Park in August of 1994. In November of 1994, my husband Rick McEnroy and our good friend Neil Cathcart of the Peterborough area, they clowned as Rammy and Nutty, and I sang at the Ladies' Day at the Royal Winter Fair. In 1996, I was asked to sing the national anthems at a Toronto Blues Jays game, which was the kickoff of the 100th anniversary of WI. At the wonderfully successful Convention 97, celebrating the 100th anniversary of the WI, I sang 10 decades of song with complimentary costumes. It was presented in 2 performances, with me stepping behind the curtain to disrobe. I remember a lady saying to me, "I know you're a big lady, but when you first came out, I thought you had gained a lot of weight." As the performance went on, I shed all that extra weight as 4 layers of clothing was removed. When the ACWW convention was held in Hamilton, I sang on the stage that night too, at Peggy's invitation. In closing, I tried to live the Mary Stuart Collect every day. Also, I was raised with the belief that the more you give, the more you receive. Try it and see how it will improve your life. Thank you for giving me this opportunity of sharing my story.
Thank you very much, Margaret. That's a wonderful story, and it's a way that take for granted the different talents that we have. And so thank you very much for sharing tonight. So we're going to come east a little more to Marion Green in New Brunswick.
Good morning or good evening. My name is Marion Green and I'm from New Brunswick Women's Institute, and I'm going to share my story. I will start at the beginning of my life. Married at a young age and 2 children. Later, and living in apartments, my husband and I start looking to take roots from a place of our own. 2 co-workers of my husband were moving to a rural community about 50 k's from work. A kind gentleman granted us an acre of land, of which we purchased our own mini home. We were excited with the area. It had a church and a 1-room schoolhouse, so the children could go to school and Sunday school, and me to church. The ladies of the church were very kind, and I seemed to fill in. But some of the younger men especially had different ideas of fun that we were not used to. This made me very uncomfortable. Then lo and behold, the kind ladies that I came to know invited me to a meeting. This was the Women's Institute. This came at a time when my mental health was very low. During this time, I made a promise to myself that because the WI helped me, I would do whatever it took to work for home and country for the best of my ability. I immediately became interested in the work these ladies were involved in at the community level. They had just purchased an old hall that needed repairs, applied for a grant, and I was asked to look after this and do the financial work. My life started to take on an important meaning. For example, there was a dump along the highway in the community, and the WI branch members wrote letters to the Department of Highways to have this moved, and with my help, wrote many letters. Over the years and many grants and letter writing later, our WI branch is still going strong with only 5 members. Looking back over the 54 years as being a member of the Women's Institute, I feel that over the years I have committed many hours of my time, many miles traveled, and along the way, many smart WI women who must have seen some potential in me, mentored and guided my path year after year to eventually become NBWI provincial president. Even though our branch, district, provincial, national, and international levels are struggling at times, I am still committed to working with all WI members to keep this very important organization alive and well. Thank you to all WI members.
Very much for sharing, Marion. So we just don't know what impact we are making, do we? So thank you. All right, we're going to skip over to Ontario and Elaine Tully. You speak, I'll find you.
Here I am.
There we go. Cool. It's hard to find the name sometimes. Thanks, Elaine. Appreciate you coming.
Thanks for the invitation. So my name is Elaine Tully, and I am a member of Women Inspiring Women, WI, here in Paris, Ontario. The title of my story is simply 100 Voices That Shaped Us. I took the invitation to write the story, and it felt like where I would head with this. I am so thankful for the many voices I hear in our WI branch and the many things I have learned and continue to learn from them. As we encourage every member to share their passions and ideas, we also invite every member to ask for help to learn things they might like to know. Voices make the difference, create new perspectives, share inspiration, cause us to pause and consider things we might never have thought of before. Recently, in a social setting outside WI, I was chatting with a woman about the challenges that the WI in the UK are facing around the legislation against the acceptance of transgender individuals as members. As we chatted, we each stepped into bathroom stalls while doing our conversation. We were essentially agreeing that every person is a person and we should simply accept each other as such. Simple. When we each emerged from our bathroom stall, a woman who had been in the third stall before we arrived also came out, but was in tears. Naturally, we asked if she was okay, and she tearfully explained how supported she was feeling to have overheard our conversation. Her young adult child had recently transitioned, and she had been finding it very difficult to deal with the varying responses to this decision, many being critical. She knows her child as her child and loves them unconditionally. It warmed her heart to hear supportive comments, and it brought her to tears. I'm grateful for the many voices in WI. Let us listen fully to each other, and let us use our voices to continue to create a safe and welcoming space for every individual. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elaine, for sharing that story. So it's certainly a very appropriate time to hear about it. So our voices are indeed very important. So we're going to skip next door to Linda James. Sorry, Linda.
Okay.
There you go. Spotlight. Welcome, Linda.
I want to thank you for allowing me to speak today. And my story is more of a personal nature. and I call it the WI and me. We are all aware of many important changes that the Women's Institute is responsible for in the 129 years of its existence. We talk about it often and are proud of our accomplishments, but one thing we don't often talk about is the difference the WI can make on an individual basis. So I would like to tell you my story. In November 1994, my husband and I moved from Montreal to a small town in southwestern Quebec called Dewitville. When you read it, you'd think it would be pronounced Dewitville, but we know it as Dewitville. I am agoraphobic and was suffering from severe panic attacks, and we thought moving to a quieter place might help. I'd been seeing many doctors and medications and wasn't doing anything for me. I was at a point that I couldn't even go to the store that was 2 houses down from me alone. One day I was in the store and the owner, Pat, asked me if I wanted to go to a WI Christmas party. Didn't have a clue what the WI was, but said I would go so that I could meet some of my neighbors. But I worried about it for days, about leaving the house, going to a strange place and meeting new people. When the time came, my husband drove me to the party and waited outside. In case I panicked and had to leave, it wouldn't be the first time. I stayed for the party and had a wonderful time. The following month, I went to my first meeting with all the same apprehensions. I got a call the day before and was told what time I would be picked up. No questions if I was going or not, you're being picked up. That's when the worry would start. Should I go or not? I usually went, but sat at the back closest to the door in case I had to leave. When you're agoraphobic, you have to sit somewhere where you can get out quickly. I told a few people about my problem, and gradually, with the help and encouragement of everyone, I became more relaxed. One dear member, Liz McNaughton, whenever I said I didn't think I could do something, would answer me by saying, "Well, of course you can. Why can't you?" The rest is history. I became a branch chair in 2000, secretary of the branch in 2001, and finally president in 2007. For the last 19 years, I have been president of either branch, county, and now province. I still panic in certain situations. I still don't like crowds and always sit at the end of a row when in a meeting. But my favorite place is at the front of the room, talking to everyone. I have no fear of talking to crowds. I have my friends from the WI to thank for helping me to get to this point, and I hope it continues. I have done traveling. I've been to Mexico. I've been to every province in Canada except Newfoundland, but I've never been on a plane. And in May, my brother is insisting I go on a plane to Newfoundland. So if you suddenly hear on the news that an Air Canada plane had to land to let some crazy lady off, that'll be me. So thank you for letting me share my story.
Thank you, Linda, for sharing your story. So that's the difference the WI can make in our communities, isn't it? So thank you. And I'm sure you'll be fine on the plane. So just like being in your living room. So
that's what everybody tells me. Thank you.
All right, now we're going all the way out to the West Coast. Just Shelley Simrose. And Shelley, if you would wave at me or speak.
Hello, I'm
there
here.
There you go. I knew you were there, dear. So that was good. So Shelley is going to tell the story of Betty Bartlett. So I'll leave it to you, Shelley. So
okay. Betty Bartlett is BCWI's office administrator. And without Betty, I would be lost. And especially with my bad memory, she really keeps me and the rest of us on track. So this is called Betty Bartlett and My Journey with BCWI. My journey with BC Women's Institute all started back in 2007. Prior to being hired, I worked for TD Canada Trust as a bank teller. The hours with TD Canada Trust were all over the place, with having to work most weekends and closing shifts. I longed for a Monday to Friday job again. Looking through the newspaper one day, I came across a job with BCWI working Monday through Thursday. I had no idea, of course, what BCWI stood for, but I applied anyway. I received a call in June of that year for an interview. The first question I was asked was, do you mind having July and August off? In my mind, I was like, well, of course, duh. So I went for the interview, and 2 weeks later, I was hired by Wanda Richard, BCWI president at that time. The first convention I attended was in Duncan, BC in June of 2008, and that was one of the scariest times of my life. There were approximately 100 members in attendance, and I was very quiet, shy, and had a very, very difficult time with speaking in public. I tried my best to give my first ever financial report, and that did not go well. I was second guessing the job I had taken on and if I was capable of doing this at all. There were a few times I just about threw in the towel, but I am really glad I didn't. I was always told by members that there is a light at the end of that tunnel and not to give up. Being the office administrator for BCWI for the last 18 and a half years has shaped me into the person I am today. I am neither shy nor quiet anymore, and I have become a lot more confident in my abilities. Public speaking, though, is still not my strong suit. I love being part of such an amazing organization. I have met and became friends with such great ladies. This job has been one of the toughest and at times most challenging, but also one of the most rewarding. I wouldn't change the last 18 and a half years for the world. You ladies rock. And that was by Betty Bartlett, BCWI Office Administrator.
She's the longest serving WI administrator we have in the country now. So she's a great gal, very competent. So we're lucky to have her. Thanks for sharing her story, Shelley. So
you're welcome.
All right, let's come all the way back east to Chandra Smith in New Brunswick. You would speak, Chandra, or wave, then I'll find you.
Hello.
Where did you go? Oh, there we go. Cool.
Okay. All right. Well, hello, fellow WI members. I've been a WI member at the Hillsborough Women's Institute in New Brunswick for a long time, and it's still going after starting in 1912. So I've been asked to read my story, and the title was First and Fresh Starts. How and when did you join the WI? Let me share my story. My first WI meeting was at the age of 4 or 5. I was so excited to be able to stay up, so I sat in my rocking chair while my mother hosted the local branch at our home that evening. Finding out there was a lunch after was a delight, with this becoming my night snack. So I sporadically attended the WI whenever it was at my house. Throughout the years, up until I graduated, I grew to know the ladies, and when attending, expected there to be a roll call, a speaker, which always proved interesting, a game, and the fellowship around the table after. They gave me opportunities to speak about my choir trips or youth initiatives in the community or organizing the game for the meeting. Leaving for university, I missed the monthly meetings and had not yet become a full member. Upon returning to the local area with my degree completed, my mother invited me once again to come out to WI and join the WI. This time, meetings were held with the same order of conduct. There were convenerships in place then, and I was assigned home economics. At times, I would speak about nutrition as this was my major. Eventually, after witnessing the many roles held at branch level, I was asked to take on a leadership position in the branch. This opportunity taught me skills I would use throughout my life, especially public speaking, gaining confidence in facilitating a meeting, and developing events for the community. With more years under my belt, I have been involved at a variety of levels, branch, district, and provincial in the New Brunswick WI. In a rural setting, I found being a WI member brought lifelong friendships and enabled me to learn a great deal of valuable information. I challenge any lady who moves into a new community or returns to their original rural area where they grew up to reach out and find the local WI or start one yourself to create a great network of women who support and learn together. I just want to congratulate FWIC on 129 years and for celebrating this WI Day, bringing all of the members together to be encouraged. And thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Shonda, for sharing your story about joining WI and being a part and what it has done for you. So much appreciated. Our last story this evening that we've planned is from Liz Moore. So I need to find Liz.
I'm here.
There you go, dear. All right.
Perfect. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you. It's such an honor to be here tonight and listening to women across this great country. I feel so connected and I feel actually kind of emotional. So thank you for this opportunity to be here and especially to share my story. I currently live in Bradford, West Gwillimbury, Ontario, but my story actually starts in a rural farming community very far up north in a place called Temiskaming, Ontario. And my title of my story tonight is With Gratitude to the Women's Institute Who Shaped My Life. I can still see their smiling faces, feel their labor of love in action, serving the most delicious cookies and treats, hear the chatter of their voices, and the clinking of those beautiful teacups and saucers as they carefully wash them and put them away. The flood of memories comes rushing back to a time long ago in the late 1960s and early 1970s, and having the privilege of growing up in a 3-room schoolhouse with only 3 teachers, but the love, support, and dedication of a group of women called the Savard Women's Institute. These amazing women filled with love and tireless devotion who believed that they could make our world a better place, and did. In the wilderness of Northern Ontario, their deeds and actions gave us a voice, for it was because of their work and their dedication to making our school thrive with extra activities, and because they showed us we mattered and were part of something more than isolation and rural reality, that we truly understood we were much more and at the same time learned the meaning and the value of community. And perhaps more importantly, that we had a sense of belonging and a place that felt safe and that we called home. The Women's Institute members were a visible presence, teaching us important skills like sewing, cooking, knitting, how to serve tea at a community event, serving hot dogs and food at a concession stand at the fall fair, making costumes for the Christmas concert out of crepe paper and shiny tinsel garland, and supporting us financially with field trips and with a much-needed hot lunch program every winter. They quietly went about their tasks with a sort of quiet reverence. They left an indelible mark on my heart and made me know from a very young age that a community is only as strong as its members, an impression that lasted a lifetime and fueled my desire to want to do exactly the same thing when I grew up, and that would be to join the Women's Institute and make a difference. In grade 8, our home economics class, oh, sorry, I'm having someone, can you just leave for 1 second? In grade 8, our home economics class had the opportunity to compete for the coveted Women's Institute Award. To win the award, it included producing samples of knitting and crocheting, a well-kept home economics workbook showcasing the work over the year, and the illustration of what those skills could look like in everyday life as a domestic engineer. I worked really hard that year and was so proud to be chosen the winner. I was awarded the 5 Roses cookbook, a beautiful cookbook with a white cover that had a picture of a bag of flour, cooking utensils, and 5 roses on the front. But what was special to me was the inscription on the inside that said, donated by the Savard Women's Institute for the best kept home economics book, 1974. I have used that cookbook faithfully for the last 60 years and cherish it. It has also been my bragging right to my family and friends over the years, a thing that results in a lot of laughter and fun, and the title of Home Ec Queen. It is perhaps one of my most important achievements of my life. Growing up, I felt privileged. I knew that my life was rich because of the extra things happening at my school that supported literacy, numeracy, and well-being. When I entered high school and met other students from neighboring schools, I fully understood their history was not the same. I then knew with certainty that the Women's Institute at my school, Savard Sharp and Robillard Public, was truly something special, and I felt even more thankful. I realized that the cold and long winters and the isolation of being in a small rural farming community 2 hours away from a real city had felt normal, alive, and vibrant because of their tireless efforts. I realized the impact of this special group of women and what they had on my life, and I felt even more grateful. I left the North with my career in the Ontario Public Service in 1988, and while taking piano lessons in the early 2000s, I happened to be waiting and noticed some beautiful calendars. To my surprise and delight, they were being sold by the Women's Institute. My piano teacher was a member of the Bondhead Women's Institute and encouraged me to join. So when I retired in 2021, I jumped in with passion and enthusiasm. Joining the Women's Institute, I felt like I had come home. If only, I contemplated, could I make a small difference in my community? Could I emulate those amazing women of my long ago memories and now be the one to make a lasting impression and difference in my own community? I now belong to 2 women's institutes and serve as the president of the Bondhead branch and the vice president of the Techweek-Will branch. The branches are both very involved in the community and serve with passion and dedication. I have met so many wonderful women and have had the opportunity to do so many amazing things to serve our community. The rewards are endless in seeing the joy and hearing the community feedback. Life is busy, but oh, so much fun. My mind often wanders back to my early beginnings at the Women's Institute. I cannot think of a better beginning or shaping of early life. While doing my graduate studies, I had learned that early support has an impact on the brain wiring that is critical for healthy development. It involves rapid neuron growth and connection formation in the early years of life. The necessary connections and the wiring of the brain are driven by experience, interactions, and exchanges, and creates a foundation for skills and lifelong learning. How blessed was I to have that positive influence and support of the Women's Institute. Their influence wired my brain to understand the value of volunteering, belonging, and creating healthy communities that thrive. I am forever grateful to the members of the Savard Women's Institute and for their kindness and their caring, for traveling across snow-covered roads in sub-zero temperatures, and for being there from September to June each year to show students the value of leadership and belonging. They made us feel special and so much more than a group of 50 students in an isolated farming community. We felt special, valued, had a sense of belonging, and because of them, we knew that we could live our dreams to our fullest potential. Last year, as part of our student achievement goals at the Bondhead Women's Institute branch, we included a local rural school into our planning. We actively worked with the school, provided much needed funding to support their sports program, showed up at their spring fair to serve food and help run events, and included the grade 8 class in the serving of food at our annual strawberry social. My heart literally sang when we received a thank you card that included a note, "You made our little school feel so big." Shortly after, I attended a graduation ceremony to present the Women's Institute Award. When the valedictorian reflected on his memories, he noted the Strawberry Social as a highlight. The answer to my question as to whether we can make a difference was answered, and I knew with full assurance that yes, we were. I am eternally grateful to the Women's Institute for their years of service and for their influence in shaping of my young life. I'm also so thankful that the work continues and I get to be part of two amazing branches and to carry on the tradition, love, and support to my community. Memories are a beautiful thing, and when mine flood back as they often do, I think of the random acts of kindness, the generosity and devotion, and the hard work of a group of women who knew that they could make a difference, shape lives, and invest in the future. It is now my privilege to carry on that work and to invest in my community. It all started and it all continues because of women who care and women who share. And I'm so proud to be part of the history and the future of a very special group of remarkable women called the Women's Institute. Thank you for listening to my story.
Thank you very much, Liz. I think you sum up what WI branches are across this country. That's my initial thought was when I read it the first time, and I thank you so much for putting that down because I think that's exactly what we're all about. So
thank you.
So thank you to everyone. I'll take you off spotlight. Thank you to all our storytellers tonight for your courage, your generosity, and certainly your honesty. Thank you to each of you for listening, reflecting, and carrying forward the story of Women's Institute in your own unique way. Your participation truly keeps the story alive and meaningful. As we celebrate WI Day, let us remember our strength has always been our voices. Our future is built when we share them. And this is not the end, but is the beginning. As you know, we've been looking to gather 100 stories as we plan to publish the stories and have the book available for sale at the 2027 National Convention. So if you've heard something tonight that twigged a bell with you and said, oh, I have a story to tell, why not share it and put it and email it to us at info@fwic.ca. We look forward to hearing more stories because we know they are out there. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about some upcoming events that are taking place. We certainly have International Women's Day on March the 8th. And the theme is Give to Gain. And Angela and Eleanor are working on putting together some posts that you will see on social media that will highlight what we think about giving to gain, which I think is the embodiment of Women's Institute. On Earth Day, we're going to pre-record because lots of us are going to be going to Ottawa to the World Conference. So it's going to be on the circular economy. So we'll let you know when that's ready on the YouTube channel. And of course, those that are going to be attending the ACWW World Conference in Ottawa, and those who maybe are not, but maybe would still do Women Walk the World in and around April 29th. And last but not least, we will have our AGM virtually on July the 7th, so you can watch for more information on that. As we conclude tonight, together we honor the past, together we shape our future, and together we rise for home and country. Happy WI Day. We will now hopefully have God Save the King. You just give me a second here. Well, ladies, thank you very much for joining us this evening. We hope we've inspired you. You learned a few things. Does anyone have any comments they'd like to make? I see there's lots of comments in the chat, so.
I'll just comment that I thought the stories were absolutely lovely, every one of them. And it is very touching to know that there's similar experiences that that I've had as well, and some that are maybe more unique too. So I'm inspired to share my story too.
Wonderful. That's terrific, Brad. Thank you so much for sharing. So thank you.
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed all the stories. Wonderful.
Thank you, Stella.
I could relate to so many of the ladies speaking tonight as I visited all across Canada. So friendships are wonderful with the WI.
Absolutely, Linda. Liz, Chonga.
Sorry, I guess almost got to say what Linda said, but in reference to the comments that I made, yes, you make friends all the time, and when you go to different conferences, you just go there and you get a hug, and it's just so wonderful to see all of them. And I notice a lot of them are on tonight too, so it's just a homecoming, if you want to say it. Thank you.
Thank you. See what a wonderful book this is going to be? So we could use some more stories. So,
Lynn, I'd just like to say thank you to you and Angela and all the FWIC board of directors who put this together, because this has been an inspiring evening. Stories that resonate with all our hearts, and absolutely, someone said it and expressed it so well. It's a sisterhood, and being part of that is so important. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing many of you in Ottawa.
Thank you, Marie. So.
Thank you from Nellie and Gander.
Oh, thank you very much,
It's
Nellie.
been very interesting.
Thank you. Thanks for
you
joining
guys
me.
did a lot of work. Good night.
Good night. Thanks, dear. It's late in Newfoundland, so.
Yeah. Well, it's
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
Yeah, yep.
That's not too bad.
Not too bad. Oh, that's good. So.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
WI rocks.
Oh, there they are over the college.
Good night, everyone. Thank you. That was lovely.
Thanks, Margie. So.
That was great.
Good night.
Thank you.
You're
Good night,
welcome.
everyone.
Thank you.
Stop
Good
this
night.
recording.